You'd think I'd have caught on sooner. That's the part that really sticks with me. I mean, in hindsight, the whole thing reads like a parody of itself, wine glasses on every windowsill, an ever-rotating collection of self-help books that all said the same thing in a different font, and a therapist named Blaine who spelled it with a Y. Blind. With a Y. That should have been enough to sound the alarm. But no. I was too busy being the supportive husband. The stable one. The calm guy who brings reusable bags to Trader Joe's and takes the dog out when it's raining because she's had a long day. I didn't see the cracks at first. Or maybe I just mistook them for modern marriage. It started about 9 months ago, right after Marissa turned 35 and decided she was spiritually misaligned with her routine. That was the phrase she used. Spiritually misaligned. Like her calendar was personally gaslighting her. So she joined a hot yoga studio, cut out gluten, and found herself a therapist. Solo sessions at first, twice a week. Then came the suggestion that we should go as a couple. Not because we were having issues, of course. Just to tune up the communication. Maintenance therapy, she called it. Right. The therapist's office was downtown, glossy building, skyline views, filtered lemon water in the lobby. The kind of place that screams I'm expensive, therefore I must be right. I only met him once, in our very first session. Blind. Mid-40s, beard, expensive shoes with no socks. Spoken slow, soothing tones like he was narrating a meditation app. He wore glasses he didn't need and used phrases like emotional scaffolding and narrative ownership. I didn't like him. Not because he was a bad therapist, but because he was too good at making Marissa feel like she was the only person in the room. Still, I played along. Nodded. Participated. Tried to be the husband who does the work. But the solo sessions kept piling up. Once a week turned into 3. Always at night. Always last minute. She'd come home glowing, like she'd just been to the spa and cried for 45 minutes about the time her mom forgot her birthday in 6th grade. I asked questions. She brushed them off, said I was projecting. Then the phone started living face down. Passwords changed. A new attachment to lavender-scented candles. It was subtle death by 1,000 small upgrades. And still, I said nothing. Because if I accused her, I'd be the insecure husband who can't handle his wife investing in her mental health. And if I said nothing, I'd be the fool who let it slide. So I waited. Watched. Memorized patterns. She always came home from therapy with the same routine: a long shower, followed by herbal tea, followed by journaling. And then sleep. Like she'd just completed some ancient ritual of self-realignment. And then came the coat. A stupid, meaningless thing, really a blue wool trench she only wore when she wanted to look effortlessly chic. She left it at his office, apparently, after a late session. I remember the night clearly. Thursday. Raining. She walked in without the coat, tossed her keys on the counter, and kissed me like nothing was wrong. "Oh," she said casually, "I left my coat at Blind's. Can you grab it tomorrow? He has an early morning, but his receptionist said she'd leave it for pickup." "Sure," I said. And that was it. Except it wasn't. Because the next afternoon, I walked into the lobby of the Lemon Water Skyline Tower and gave the receptionist my name. Mid-20s, very pretty, very bored. She looked confused for a second, then smiled too brightly. "Oh, right," she said. "You're Marissa's husband?" "Yeah." She stood, walked to a back closet, and pulled out the coat. Handed it to me folded over one arm. "She hasn't been in for a while," the receptionist said, tapping something on the desk. "But she told me you might come by." I paused. "What do you mean, hasn't been in?" She looked up. "Oh, sorry. I thought you knew. She hasn't had a session in, like, a month?" I smiled. The kind of smile you give when your body goes cold, but your face has to stay warm. "Right," I said. "Totally forgot." She laughed politely and went back to whatever curated playlist she was building on Spotify. I walked out holding the coat like it was radioactive. Got in my car. Drove 3 blocks. Pulled over. And sat. That was the moment. Not the confirmation. Not the scandal. The silence. The space between fact and reaction. I could have called her. Could have stormed home and thrown the coat on the kitchen table like a murder weapon. But I didn't. Because after months of emotional breadcrumbs, she'd finally handed me a map. And I wasn't going to waste it. So I called Eli. He's an actor. Mid-tier. Teaches improv on weekends and does voiceover work for luxury car commercials. Also happens to be one of my oldest friends. "Can you play a therapist?" I asked. He paused. "Is this a role or a trap?" "Both," I said. "But mostly a trap." And that was the beginning. The rest of the night was logistics. I created a fake email address, booked a fake couples therapy session at a rented co-working space downtown, set up audio equipment, projector. Eli bought glasses, wore a turtleneck, even downloaded a PowerPoint template labeled Couples Healing, Rebuilding the Bridge. The bait was set. I just needed her to bite. And Marissa, bless her routine-obsessed soul, bit hard. She was surprised when I brought it up. You want to do another session? With a new therapist? I nodded. Fresh perspective. No biases. She hesitated. It's a little sudden. I think we owe it to ourselves. That guilt-tinged, yoga-filtered logic. She couldn't say no without contradicting every self-help mantra she'd posted for the last year. So she said yes. And just like that, my wife scheduled an appointment with her own executioner. You ever watch someone walk into a room thinking they're in control? It's a beautiful thing. They smile a little too wide. Shoulders back. Calm, curated expressions like they're on a magazine cover that only they can see. That's how Marissa walked into the fake therapy session. White blouse. Minimalist gold jewelry. That one pair of pants she wears when she wants to look like a feminist podcast host. She even brought a notebook, like she was ready to do the work. Hi, she said to Eli, giving him the once-over. You must be Dr. Green. Eli stood and shook her hand like a pro. Call me Aaron. Titles get in the way of honesty. I almost applauded. We sat in 3 chairs arranged in a triangle. No table. No desk. Just a plant in the corner and a glass pitcher of water that none of us touched. I'd rented the room through an hourly co-working app, furnished it with Craigslist leftovers, and dimmed the overheads just enough to make it feel intentional. Eli had a notepad and a soft voice. Marissa had a smile and secrets. I had the truth. We started slow. The usual therapist foreplay: introductions, ground rules, consent to discuss uncomfortable topics. Marissa nodded dutifully. I nodded too, but for different reasons. So, Eli began, crossing his legs like a man who charges $200 an hour. Tell me where things are, emotionally. Marissa glanced at me, then turned to him. Honestly? We're trying. Adam's been more open lately. He even suggested this session, which I really appreciate. I smiled, trying to stay aligned. She looked over and actually touched my knee. Like we were a team again. Like we hadn't just spent 3 months orbiting different planets. I guess, she continued, we've just had some distance lately. Not bad distance. Just, like we've both been busy, and maybe not checking in the way we should. Eli nodded slowly. And where do you feel that started? Marissa hesitated. Just a flicker. Maybe, 6 months ago, she offered. Life got hectic. I started therapy. Work stress. Normal stuff. Normal stuff. You know what's not normal? A married woman having an affair with her therapist. Eli scribbled something meaningless on his notepad. Probably a doodle of a goat. Adam, he said, turning to me, how do you feel hearing that? I kept my voice flat. Measured. Like someone who's been meditating over a bonfire. I think she's right. There's been distance. But I think the cause goes a little deeper than work stress. Marissa blinked. Oh? I think part of that distance, I said slowly, has something to do with the fact that your therapist hasn't had an appointment with you in over a month. The air changed. Her hand froze on her notebook. Her face didn't crack, not yet, but the light behind her eyes dimmed just a hair. What are you talking about? She asked, too evenly. I stopped by his office, I said. To pick up your coat. Pause. The receptionist mentioned you haven't been in for weeks. Marissa smiled, brittle, defensive. She must have been confused. I don't think she was, I replied. Because I called later that day. From another number. Asked if you were still a client. She said, oh, she used to come in all the time. Past tense. Her voice sharpened. Are you spying on me now? I was picking up your coat. Eli stepped in smoothly. Let's just pause for a second. Emotions are high. No, they weren't. Not mine, anyway. Eli looked at Marissa. Can you help us understand the gap between what you've told Adam and what he's found out? She shook her head. This feels ambushy. I didn't come here to be interrogated. No, I said, you came here to pretend nothing's wrong. Like you haven't been lying about your appointments. Like you haven't been getting dressed up on Tuesday nights and coming home smelling like aftershave you don't even buy me anymore. Her eyes went glassy. She didn't cry, not yet. But the panic was creeping in. The silence was turning hostile. That's the thing about emotional theater, once the audience stops clapping, the play starts to fall apart. Eli uncrossed his legs. Shifted forward. I want to try something, he said. An exercise. Marissa blinked. What kind of exercise? Full honesty, he said. But with help. He reached into his bag and pulled out a small speaker. Bluetooth. Nothing fancy. Set it on the side table. I'm going to play something, he said, and I want you both to listen. Marissa looked at me. I looked at her. Then the audio started. Just a few seconds of silence. Then a voice. God, you make me crazy, you know that? It was a man's voice. Not mine. Blinds. Marissa's eyes widened like a blown fuse. Her mouth opened, then closed. She looked at me like she couldn't tell if I was real. The audio continued. I keep thinking about last week. The way you kissed me in the hallway. The things you said in that journal. Another voice. Her voice. Low. Breathless. I wish we didn't have to pretend. I hate lying to him. I pressed pause. Eli didn't speak. I didn't speak. The speaker didn't speak. Just the sound of fluorescent lights buzzing above us like insects in a trap. You bugged my therapy, she said finally, voice cracking. No, I replied. You wrote him emails. And he left his inbox logged in on a public computer once. Someone I know happened to walk by. Lie? Truth? Doesn't matter. Perception is blood in the water. Marissa stood. Shaky. This is insane. No, I said, standing too. What's insane is sleeping with the man hired to help your marriage. What's insane is scheduling fake appointments, faking emotional breakthroughs, and then having the audacity to say you appreciate me coming here today. I didn't. You did. I turned to Eli. You want to finish the session? He looked at her. Back at me. Then back at her. I think we've made progress, he said. I walked out first. She didn't follow. Not for several minutes. And when she finally did, she didn't look at me. Just walked past like a woman late for a train she knew she missed hours ago. I didn't say anything. Because I wasn't done yet. There's a strange kind of silence that settles in after exposure. It's not the absence of sound, it's the absence of defense. No more lies. No more spinning. Just a void where the excuses used to live. That's what it felt like in our apartment for the next 2 days. Two people moving around each other like co-workers after a disastrous holiday party. Marissa didn't say a word when she came home from that session. She walked straight to the bedroom, took a long shower, and came out with red eyes and wet hair, the look of a woman who still thinks crying makes her the victim. I made dinner. Ate alone. She passed through the kitchen once, poured herself a glass of wine, and mumbled something about needing time. She needed time. To process the consequences of sleeping with a man who was professionally obligated to protect our relationship. To prepare a strategy for how she'd spin this to her friends, probably something about emotional confusion and misplaced boundaries. That's what modern adultery sounds like now. Clean. Digestible. Empowering, if you squint hard enough. But me? I wasn't confused. I was just getting started. Because here's the thing, revealing the affair in a fake therapy session was just the reveal. The impact hadn't landed yet. Not really. I'd pulled the curtain back, but I hadn't taken the stage. I hadn't set the room on fire. Yet. And in the silence of that weekend, I made a plan. Step 1 was verifying what I already suspected. Blind, or Dr. Blind Heston, as his website claimed, wasn't licensed. I spent 2 hours on the California Board of Psychology site. Nothing. No license under that name. Not even a suspended one. Then I tried national directories. Still nothing. Finally, I hit gold. His full name was Blaine Marcus Heston. Blind was a branding decision, a cute, rebranded identity meant to sound unique. And while he had graduated with a psychology degree, he had never completed clinical supervision hours. Which meant he wasn't certified. He wasn't a therapist. He was a guy who had taken some classes, slapped together a Pinterest-worthy website, and started charging desperate people $250 an hour to feel heard. Including my wife. Including me. Once. Step 2 was proof. Not for me, I already had that. The emails. The audio clip. Her reaction. No, I needed objective proof. Legal proof. Something I could use to bury this man's reputation in wet cement. So I emailed him. From a burner account. Subject line, interested in sessions. The message was simple. Hi, I'm looking for therapy. I saw your site. Are you currently accepting clients? He replied within an hour. Polite. Friendly. Said he had a few openings for motivated individuals looking to grow. Quoted me his rate. Offered a virtual session the following Tuesday. Perfect. I emailed back and asked one question: "Are you fully licensed?" He replied with a two-word answer: "Of course." That was enough. Step 3: Public exposure. But not just any exposure. Viral, surgical, humiliating. I needed reach. I needed receipts. And I needed someone who could package it in a way that the internet wouldn't scroll past. Enter Riley. She's my co-worker's younger sister, 22, chronically online, and absolutely ruthless when it comes to TikTok drama. She once got a restaurant chain to apologize for a bad date her friend had by posting screenshots of their Yelp replies and adding sad piano music. I showed her the emails, the messages, the voice clip. She didn't blink. "This is gold," she said. "He's screwed. How do we make it land?" She grinned. Mini-series. Each clip is a layer. Start with the emotional hook, then escalate. Always end with a cliffhanger. And we'll drop the license bomb in part 4. It took us 5 hours. We edited the audio clip, masked her name, used a voiceover filter to recreate my side of the story deeper, moodier, like I was narrating a Netflix crime doc. We shot some B-roll. Me holding a phone, a shadowy figure walking past a therapist sign, Marissa's notebook flipping open to a blank page. Then we scheduled the posts. Part 1: My wife said she needed therapy. Turns out she meant a boyfriend with a fake degree. Part 2: She booked night sessions. Always came home blowing. So I visited the office. Part 3: The receptionist said she hadn't been there in weeks. But she said she just left. Part 4: The therapist said he was licensed. The psychology board said otherwise. It blew up. Within 48 hours, we had 1.2 million views. The comments were relentless. Wait. She cheated with the therapist? Not blind with a why loudly crying face, loudly crying face, loudly crying face. This is why I trust no one who uses eucalyptus candles unironically. Post his license receipts. And him. By part 5, people had started digging. Someone found his LinkedIn. Someone else found an old blog post he wrote about alternative credentialing. His reviews tanked. Google suspended his business listing. Then came the real kicker. A reporter from a mental health watchdog blog DM'd me asking for an interview. Said she was working on a piece about therapy fraud and wanted to feature the story anonymously if I preferred. I said yes. Marissa saw the videos 3 days later. I came home to find her on the couch, phone in hand, eyes red, but not from crying. From panic. "You're making this public?" she asked. I already did. She stood up, voice sharp. "You're humiliating me." "You did that?" I said. "I just added a soundtrack." "You don't get it. People I know follow that account." "Good," I said. "Maybe they'll stop booking with your boyfriend." Her jaw locked. Then, something changed. Her anger shifted into calculation. Like she was assessing her options. Damage control mode. She paced. Called a friend. Left voicemails that sounded rehearsed. But it didn't matter. The court of public opinion had already ruled. And in a world that loves self-help but hates hypocrites, she was now a villain with 80,000 stitches in the comment section. That night, she slept on the couch. I didn't mind. Because in the morning, I submitted the email thread to the licensing board. Filed an official complaint. Attached screenshots. Time stamps. The whole ugly truth. They opened an investigation within 48 hours. And Dr. Blind went dark. No more website. No more lemon water tower office. Just a deactivated Instagram account and a trail of angry ex-clients trying to get refunds. But I wasn't done yet. Because revenge isn't just exposure. It's erosion. And the final crack was coming. You ever watch someone realize they're not the main character anymore? It's subtle at first. They start shrinking in rooms they used to own. Their phone goes quiet. Texts dry up. Invitations stop coming. The world doesn't scream at them, it just stops clapping. That was Marissa in the week after the TikTok series dropped. She tried to hold it together at first. Put on makeup. Went to yoga. Pretended nothing had changed. But it had. Her curated life, the one built on brunch filters, therapy quotes, and glow-up reels, started collapsing like a poorly built IKEA shelf. One comment at a time. One friend ghosting her at a time. The betrayal wasn't even the worst part, it was the optics. Nobody likes a hypocrite. Especially not a self-care one. By Wednesday, she was in full PR mode. She deleted all her old therapy posts. Wiped the mental health journey highlights from her Instagram. Made her profile private. Then she tried to rebrand, posted a photo of her holding a book next to a coffee cup with the caption, "Healing isn't linear. But I'm still here." The comments didn't go how she hoped. Are you still healing with your therapist? Girl, shut up, you cheated during couples counseling. Imagine needing therapy after ruining your own life, LMAO. By Friday, she stopped posting entirely. She stopped talking to me, too. Except for one conversation. We were sitting in the living room, 2 feet apart, worlds away. The TikTok series had crossed 3 million views. BuzzFeed had reached out for comment. A producer might be interested, Riley said, half joking. Marissa turned to me. You're ruining my life, she said, quietly. I didn't even blink. No. You ruined it. I'm just showing people the receipts. She shook her head like she still couldn't process that the internet had picked a side and it wasn't hers. You really hate me that much? I looked at her. Really looked. And said, I don't hate you. I just don't respect you. And I think that hurts more. She didn't reply. She didn't cry. She just stood up, walked to the bedroom, and shut the door without a word. Later that night, I saw a Venmo notification. She had sent the rent early. A quiet truce. Not peace, just paperwork. But the real fallout wasn't about Marissa anymore. It was about him. Because while she was trying to mop up her dignity with Instagram captions, I was turning the legal screws. The licensing board responded to my complaint faster than expected. They opened a formal investigation into Blaine Heston's practice. Requested additional materials. Asked for sworn statements. I gave them everything. They also confirmed what I suspected: he wasn't licensed in any state. Not California. Not Oregon. Not even Idaho, which apparently has the loosest certification laws in the country. He was a fraud. And now, he was a reported fraud. It didn't take long for the ripples to spread. His Yelp page was suspended. Google removed his business listing entirely. A Reddit thread popped up in r/therapy, titled "My Therapist Turned Out to Be a Scammer AMA." A former client chimed in. Then another. Soon, a small army of confused ex-patients were trading stories and screenshots. Turns out he'd been doing this for years. Sometimes he called himself a life coach. Other times a relationship guide. But always operating under the illusion of legitimacy. He'd cherry-pick terminology from real therapy, attachment theory, boundary work, trauma rewiring, and rapid and boutique pricing and fake empathy. He was good at it. Too good. But now, he was radioactive. And I wasn't finished. Because see, the problem with guys like that, the self-made therapist types, is they never plan for someone like me. Someone who doesn't scream or cry or storm in with threats. Someone who just gathers documents, waits, and then strikes. I had one last card to play. A contact at a podcast. Not a big one, not serial level or anything, but a decent relationship podcast that liked scandal and had a loyal, overly online listener base. They were doing a special on therapy gone wrong. Riley pitched it. They said yes. They interviewed me under the alias J, modulated my voice, and turned my story into a 3-part feature. They clipped in voice actors to recreate the fake therapy session. They played snippets of the TikTok audio. And they ended with this chilling line. If someone had just Googled his name, maybe none of this would have happened. But sometimes we trust too quickly. And sometimes, the people meant to help you are the ones who do the most damage. The episode dropped Sunday. By Monday morning, I had 12 DMs from other people claiming they'd worked with him. One said he'd flirted with her during grief counseling. Another said he gave her wine during a boundaries exercise. A third one said he encouraged her to cut toxic people out and started dating her a month later. Pattern. I forwarded it all to the board. Then I took a walk. Just me, my coffee, and the slow satisfaction of justice with clean hands. Marissa didn't leave right away. She lingered, probably because she didn't know where else to go. Her job had let her go to focus on personal matters. Her friend group had thinned. Her parents, who always loved me more than her if we're being honest, stopped calling. One night, she asked if we could talk. I said sure. We sat on the balcony, watching the city buzz below us like we were already ghosts. I messed up, she said. No kidding. I didn't mean to hurt you. Intent doesn't erase impact. I thought I was fixing myself. I thought he was helping you? I interrupted. He was sleeping with you. She didn't argue. Didn't cry. Didn't ask for forgiveness. And I didn't offer it. Because some people think closure is a hug. But sometimes it's just silence. She moved out 2 weeks later. Took half the plates, her books, and the throw blanket she insisted made the apartment feel curated. She didn't say goodbye. She didn't leave a note. She just disappeared. Blind resurfaced, briefly. A burner Instagram. New name. Wellness guidance. News city. But within hours, someone from the podcast comments exposed him again. Account deleted. Podcast updated their episode. His new name. New scam. Old pattern. Me? I kept the videos up. Kept the account open. Occasionally, people DM me to ask for updates. I tell them the truth. She's gone. He's ruined. I'm fine. Because revenge isn't about getting even. It's about taking everything they built and turning it into proof. Divorce isn't an ending. It's a transaction. It's paperwork with emotional shrapnel baked in. It's splitting furniture with someone you no longer trust to split a sandwich. People think it's about heartbreak, but if you do it right, it's about leverage. And I'd spent the last 6 months quietly collecting all of it. Marissa tried to open negotiations like we were still equals. She asked if we could keep things civil, her words like she hadn't detonated her credibility with lavender bath salts and a boyfriend who called himself doctor without a license. Let's just split everything 50-50, she said. We both contributed. I looked up from the draft paperwork and said, did we both cheat in therapy? That ended the conversation. My lawyer, Kate, was exactly the kind of shark I needed. Calm, efficient, no wasted words. She read through the prenup like it was a menu, then looked at me and asked, do you want fair, or do you want fire? Fire, I said. She smiled. Then we lean into public record. See, there's something delightful about a scandal that makes it into legal documentation. Because court filings are public. They show up on background checks, on mortgage applications, on job screenings. And when your ex-wife just got dragged through 4 million views of TikTok shame, a formal complaint citing misconduct during licensed therapy sessions, emotional fraud, and reputational damage doesn't exactly help her rebound. We filed no fault on the surface, but attached a packet of exhibits so dense it had a table of contents. Exhibit A, screenshot of Marissa's text to a friend saying blind makes me feel safe in ways Adam never could. Exhibit B, audio transcript from the fake therapy session, with her consent to record, timestamped. Exhibit C, the email where he lied about being licensed. Exhibit D, a list of comments from the TikTok posts, highlighting public shaming and reputational fallout. Exhibit E, the response from the California Psychology Board confirming his non-licensed status. All of it packaged, punched, and presented. When her lawyer saw it, he asked for a break. Kate smiled and said, of course. We didn't settle. We extracted. I kept the apartment, the car, most of the savings. She got what she brought into the marriage, which, thanks to her recent job loss and social capital meltdown, was less than she expected. She didn't fight too hard. She was too busy playing defense against the court of public opinion. But the real twist wasn't in the divorce. It was what happened after. Because about a month after the papers were finalized, I got a message request on Instagram. Private account. No profile picture. The handle was something like @truthtalker_. Sounded fake. Almost didn't open it. But I did. There was one sentence. You're not the only one she lied to. Attached was a photo. It was Marissa. At a table in what looked like a restaurant bar. Sitting across from another man. Not Blaine. Younger. Late 20s. Handsome in a soft, gym trainer kind of way. His arm was on hers. Her head tilted slightly, eyes half-lidded. You know the look, the I'm talking but I really want you to kiss me look. The caption underneath just said, March 6, 9:12 p.m. Catalina wine mixer. I stared at it. Did the math. That was before the fake therapy session. Before the fallout. Before the podcast. Before any of it. Back when she was still smiling at me in the mornings and lighting eucalyptus candles at night. I replied, who is this? No response. I waited an hour. Still nothing. Then I searched the venue. Catalina Wine Mixer was a real place, pop-up wine bar, seasonal location. I looked up their Instagram. Scrolled through photos from March. Saw a blurry background image from a story reel, Marissa. Same blouse. Same night. Then it hit me. Blaine wasn't the first. He was just the one that stuck. The one she confessed to through omission and got caught with. But the pattern started earlier. She had been fixing herself through attention, through fantasy, through emotional tourism. This was just her style. Every quote on her feed, every journal entry, every quiet tea she drank while processing things, it wasn't growth. It was strategy. She wasn't broken. She was bored. And I had been the husband version of the nice couch you eventually sell because you need a new vibe. So I did something petty. I posted the photo. No caption. Just the image. Let people connect the dots. Let her inbox burn. She texted me 30 minutes later, that was cruel. I replied, so was pretending I mattered. She didn't answer. Later that week, I heard she'd moved to Denver. Something about needing fresh air. Typical. New zip code, same dysfunction. I kept the posts up. I never named her directly. Never violated anything actionable. But her name floated through the comments like a ghost people were still trying to summon. Her friends unfollowed her. The podcast did a follow-up episode titled, When Self-Care is Just Cheating with Better Branding. It went viral. One of the top comments, healing isn't linear, but karma is. Perfect. Meanwhile, I slept better. Ate better. Started dating again. Slowly. Cautiously. You don't walk away from a relationship like that without some internal rewiring. But at least I was honest about it. At least I didn't lie to someone while telling myself I was evolving. I ran into someone who recognized me once. Grocery store. Guy in his 30s, pushing a cart. Hey, he said, you're the guy from the podcast, right? The therapy one? I nodded. He smiled. Hell of a story, man. I smiled back. It's still not over. Because the thing about stories like this? They echo. People forget headlines, but they remember tone. They remember betrayal. They remember the sound of a life falling apart in real time. And me? I wasn't bitter. I was free. And she? She'll always be the woman who turned therapy into foreplay. And got caught. You'd be surprised how fast people forget scandals when there's no resolution. In the age of scrolling and oversharing, yesterday's exposed cheater is today's fitness coach with a quote in their bio and a new city in their Instagram location. Marissa was no different. Last I checked, she'd swapped out yoga mats for mountain hikes and was posting grateful heart stories from Denver cafes that all looked the same: reclaimed wood tables, plants no one watered, overpriced chai. She rebranded. Again. This time as a woman who went through something but had found herself on the other side. I watched it unfold quietly. Not obsessively. Just observationally. Like checking the weather in a city you used to live in, not because you want to go back, but because a part of you wants to see it flood. Her followers trickled back over time. Some people forgot. Some didn't care. Some probably never knew. That's the thing about digital fallout, it has a short half-life unless you refresh it. I had no plans to. I'd gotten everything I wanted. Exposure. Legal fallout. Reputation decay. And a little slice of poetic justice baked into the algorithm. But closure? That's the one thing you can't plan. It finds you. And in my case, it came on a Thursday afternoon in the form of an email. Subject, professional reference request, Marissa Heston. It was from a startup HR address. Some vegan meal delivery service based in Boulder. They were looking to verify her employment and conduct a character-based reference check. I stared at the screen. Sat back in my chair. Then laughed. Not loud, just that kind of low, disbelieving laugh you make when the universe hands you a loaded gun and says, "One more time?" I clicked reply. Drafted carefully. Politely. I said Marissa had previously worked in client communications, yes. That she was organized, articulate, and performed well under surface-level pressure. Then I added. However, I would be remiss if I didn't mention that her departure was directly tied to a highly publicized ethical breach involving personal misconduct, emotional manipulation, and confirmed romantic entanglements with a non-credentialed mental health provider, all of which culminated in reputational fallout for our brand. Then I linked to the podcast. Then to the TikTok account. Then to the Psychology Board's official statement on unlicensed practice. And signed off. Best of luck with your hiring decisions. Adam, former spouse and business co-signer. I hit send, closed the laptop, went and made myself a sandwich. See, that's the real ending. Not a screaming match. Not a last-minute confession or a crying breakdown on the floor of a shared apartment. Just one email. Clean. Efficient. Lethal. I never heard back from the HR person. Didn't need to. A few weeks later, her account went private again. Another soft reset. Another era closed with grace. And yet another attempt to flee the truth without ever looking it in the eye. I thought that was the end. But the universe has a sick sense of humor. A few months later, I was at a friend's wedding. Not a big one. Just 60 people, barn venue, the kind of catered tacos that always run out of guac too early. I was standing near the bar when a woman walked up to me. Mid-30s. Glass of white wine. Big smile. You're Adam, right? I blinked. Yeah. She laughed. This is weird. But I know your voice. And that's when it clicked. She recognized me. From the podcast. You're the therapy guy, she said. I nodded slowly. Yeah, that's me. She leaned in, lowered her voice. You know, that story? That helped me leave someone. Someone who was doing really similar things. The way you handled it, calm, strategic, it gave me permission. I didn't know what to say. So I said the only thing that felt honest. Glad it helped. She smiled again. You should tell more stories. And then she walked away. That night, I drove home with the windows down, no music, just the road. And I realized something. Marissa had lied. Cheated. Gaslit her way through a marriage, a therapist, and a life she pretended to be grateful for. She tried to heal without ever admitting she broke something. She tried to start over without ever saying sorry. And yet, she gave me a better ending than I ever could have scripted. Because in destroying the story we'd built, she gave me a better one. One where I wasn't the victim. One where I walked out clean. And the best part? I never had to raise my voice. Never had to beg. Never had to post a single thirst trap with a caption about finally knowing my worth. I just told the truth. Piece by piece. Until the lies collapsed under their own weight. And her life, her curated, captioned, candle-scented lie turned into a cautionary tale. Somewhere in Denver, she's probably telling people she learned from it. That she grew. Maybe she even believes that. But the truth is, she didn't grow. She slid sideways into another identity. Left a mess behind and called it a lesson. Me? I'm not angry. Not anymore. Because if the cost of peace was losing her, I underpaid. End of story.
Subscribe to the channel